Recharge Your Mind, Jim Rohn compilation. Life demands energy, clarity, and perspective, and the most valuable resource you have is not just your time, not just your money, not just your effort, but the condition of your mind. Because your mind is the workshop of your future, your mind is the engine that drives your decisions, and your mind is the filter that determines how you see opportunities and obstacles. So if your mind is exhausted, cluttered, and worn down by distractions, you will miss the chance to see the gifts life offers. But if your mind is sharp, recharged, and renewed, you will move with confidence, you will speak with conviction, you will act with discipline, and you will rise above the ordinary. Which is why the great secret of achievement and fulfillment is not to simply keep working harder and harder until you burn out, but to pause, to step back, and to recharge your mind. Because recharging is not a waste of time, it is an investment in all your tomorrows. It is a renewal of your creativity, your energy, and your vision. Think about it. The farmer does not harvest all year long. He allows the soil to rest so that it can produce again. The athlete does not train without recovery, because without recovery the muscles break down. And the mind is no different. It needs rest, reflection, and nourishment to perform at its best. Too many people are running on empty, trying to push through life with a tired mind, bombarded by noise, overwhelmed by stress, chasing goals without stopping to renew the very instrument that makes success possible. And that is why they lose enthusiasm. That is why they feel stuck. That is why they forget their purpose, because the mind has not been recharged. So how do you recharge your mind? You do it with ideas, with learning, with quiet time, with positive association, with reflection, with gratitude, with reading, with listening, with discipline, and with vision. Jim Rohn often said, "Stand guard at the door of your mind." And that means you cannot allow every negative influence, every distraction, every critic, and every worthless piece of information to take residence in your thinking, because what you let in will shape what comes out. To recharge, you must feed your mind with wisdom instead of gossip, with inspiration instead of discouragement, with books instead of endless television, with meaningful conversations instead of trivial chatter. Because the mind is like a garden. It grows what you plant, and if you plant weeds of doubt, fear, and negativity, you cannot expect a harvest of confidence, courage, and clarity. Recharging also requires stepping away from the noise of life, because in silence the mind begins to reorder itself. In stillness, the mind begins to see clearly. In reflection, the mind begins to connect the dots. And in gratitude, the mind begins to focus on abundance instead of lack. If you never take time to pause, you will live reactively instead of intentionally. But when you pause, when you reflect, when you journal your thoughts, when you evaluate your progress, when you ask yourself what lessons you've learned, when you align your actions with your values, that is when your mind is refreshed and you begin to live with direction instead of drift. Another way to recharge your mind is through learning, because learning is the food of the mind, just as exercise is the strength of the body. And without constant learning, the mind grows weak, complacent, and narrow. But with learning, the mind expands. It becomes flexible, it becomes creative, it becomes resilient. So every day you must read a little, listen a little, write a little, and think a little. And in time, your mind will grow rich with ideas, with strategies, with solutions. Jim Rohn used to say that formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. And that fortune is not only financial, it is also mental and spiritual, because a recharged mind has the wealth of peace, of clarity, of vision. Another element of recharging is association, because your mind is shaped by the company you keep. And if you spend your time with complainers, critics, and cynics, your mind will become drained. But if you spend your time with dreamers, doers, builders, and thinkers, your mind will be lifted, your energy will be renewed, and your confidence will grow. Because environment is stronger than willpower, and you cannot recharge in an environment that constantly depletes you. Recharging requires intentional solitude, but also intentional association, a balance between being alone with your thoughts and being uplifted by the thoughts of others. Gratitude is another great source of mental renewal, because when you focus on what is missing, your mind becomes restless, anxious, and tired. But when you focus on what you have, your mind becomes calm, satisfied, and energized. So every day you should take a moment to count your blessings, to write down what is good in your life, to reflect on the progress you have made, and to thank the people who have helped you. Because gratitude shifts your perspective from scarcity to abundance, and that shift recharges your mind. The mind also needs vision to be recharged, because without a future worth working toward, the present feels meaningless. And nothing drains the mind faster than living without purpose. But when you have a dream, a goal, a clear vision of the life you want to build, your mind becomes alive again, and the challenges you face become fuel instead of burdens. Because vision creates energy, vision creates hope, vision creates passion. So to recharge your mind, you must revisit your goals daily. You must remind yourself why you started. You must imagine the future you are building, and you must speak to yourself with the language of possibility instead of limitation. Discipline, too, is a form of recharging, because while discipline may seem like effort, it actually saves energy in the long run, since an undisciplined mind is constantly distracted, scattered, and frustrated, while a disciplined mind is focused, clear, and calm. So if you want to recharge your mind, you must build small daily disciplines: reading instead of scrolling, meditating instead of worrying, planning instead of drifting, exercising instead of procrastinating. Because these disciplines create order, and order recharges the mind. Remember, your mind is not meant to run endlessly without rest. It is meant to be sharpened, renewed, and directed. And if you neglect it, you pay the price in confusion, stress, and regret. But if you invest in it, you reap the reward of wisdom, peace, and success. Life will always be demanding. Responsibilities will always pile up. Challenges will never disappear. But if you take time to recharge your mind, you will face them with strength, with clarity, and with resilience. So make it your habit to unplug from noise and reconnect with wisdom, to step away from distraction and step into reflection, to guard your thoughts and choose your influences, to cultivate gratitude and feed your vision. Because a recharged mind is unstoppable. A recharged mind is unshakable. A recharged mind is the foundation of every great achievement. And when you look back on your life, you will not be proud of how tired you were, how busy you were, or how much noise you absorbed. You will be proud of the clarity you maintained, the wisdom you cultivated, and the vision you pursued. And all of that will come because you made the decision to recharge your mind, day by day, week by week, year by year, until you became the person capable of living the life you imagined.